Hey guys, welcome back to 52 Lockup. I am your Apple TV cat on Bit and Apple TV. 52 Lockup is a series I started to talk about one of my biggest passions, true crime. I know you're like, what the hell's in the background? Yeah, I'm doing a true podcast. I feel like I should be on the run. Don't ask questions. I miss traveling once again, and I'm hoping all the money I paid for these AirPods, my voice better be crystal clear. Talking to you, Apple, talking to you. But anyway, back to a new episode on every Cat Maniac Monday for 52 Mondays. So I hope you guys enjoy. Be sure to comment, feedback, like, and subscribe. And just in case, for those who need to know, viewer discretion is advised. When I get to the crime, it gets pretty gruesome. I'll even give you a heads up because it's pretty nasty. So today's episode begins with a fresh ongoing case. Let's start with her name. All right, Taylor Denise Coronado was born actually on November 23rd, 1997. Now, here's my little issue as to give you a heads up. This case is a little shaky. Now, when it comes to info, I think it's because of the age of the person who committed the crimes, as well as the fact that it's also fresh. There's a lot kind of going on. So, spoiler alert, Taylor is actually the one who gets arrested, actually repeatedly, but let's just continue. So, Taylor's friend would later describe Taylor as someone who was like very kind, but not having many sober friends. So she would state that Taylor was like even very emotional and sad when she found out that her friend had a tumor in her leg, and her friend was aware that she liked to get high, but apparently when she was with her, she was never high. So, and apparently they were close for like nearly 10 years and stuff like that. I mean, this Taylor would sleep over her house, even play with her kids, so that's the kind of relationship they had. Now let me explain where the information gets a little choppy, and perhaps I'm hopping onto this case particularly too soon, but Taylor used to live in Texas, right? Now, what I was having trouble with is connecting these two cases, but they seem like it's the same person, right? So let me just get started with Texas, right? So Denise Marie Coronado, aka Bones Maria, a nickname she gave herself, she was known for a crime as a teenager, and I know the girl was held on bail, but it doesn't say if the 18/19-year-old was convicted or jailed. Like, the news just stops. I can't find anything. She's also a juvenile, right? So what I can tell you is that this girl, all this stuff happens in 2017. She abducted a girl, a 14-year-old girl, and forced her to have sex with 26 men. Now, when I look up Denise Coronado, I see her birthday is on November 24th. Can't really find a year. However, when I look at the pictures between her and Taylor, they look alike, right? Is it possible that it's a different person? Yes. And I could have my facts completely all fucking wrong, which I will gladly rectify if that comes to be. However, let's cover Taylor Shabusiness's rap sheet. So if they are not the same person, then I apologize. Then think of this as a Twilight Zone and a 2-for-1 special. But when it comes to juvenile cases, they can be a little tricky, right? Because in order to obtain information, you have to protect the juvenile. So up to a certain extent, in some cases, juveniles can go up to the age of 21. I mean, remember Amber Wright, right? She thought like, oh, I'm a juvenile, I'm going to get away with this. So all these cases are a little bit different, especially when it comes to juveniles. So let's get started back in Texas. So Denise Marie Coronado was picked up at 18, 19 years old after an escaped 14-year-old, like I said, had called her family, and she was rescued. It turned out that the 14-year-old was actually coerced by Denise and left in this room where she was used as a sex worker to sleep with 26 men. The 14-year-old obviously did not want to do these things, but Denise Marie Coronado, aka Bones Maria, her pimpette nickname, had posted the girl's photos all over Backpage, which apparently is a site for these kind of things. And I do not know what was in Bones Marie's past as a teenager, but apparently there was enough on her record that the judge raised her bail from $30,000 to $100,000 in 2017. Like I said earlier, there's no information if she was released, if she was convicted, just zilp, zitch, nada, nothing. So, however, with all this in question, it kind of corresponds almost, because if she wasn't convicted and if she just got like community service or something because she was a juvenile, then maybe it's the same person, because we have a Taylor Denise Coronado, 5'2", 120 pounds. She changed her name in 2017, right? And she changes her name to goes to Wisconsin. So is it the same person? I'm not sure, but they look awfully alike. And then the name thing and the birthday, so whatever. We're just going to continue with this ongoing rap sheet, right? So according to online records, Taylor was arrested in June 2020 and charged with battery and threatening and resisting an officer. She was actually found guilty after pleading no contest. Now, for those of you who may not know, pleading no contest is like basically accepting the conviction, but you're not going to admit that you did it. It's like admitting you're guilty while the same cookie crumbs from the cookie jar are in question or all over your face, but you're just not saying it. You're just like... So I feel like it's the best way to describe it. So Taylor was sentenced to 3 years of probation and 60 days in jail. However, in August 2020, she had other plans and was charged with bail jumping, which is when a defendant fails to show up in court. She was resisting an officer again. The bail jumping charge ended up being dismissed as part of the June case for the battery. But either way, in August 2020, she was also charged with a misdemeanor possession of drug paraphernalia. Now, that's going to be important for later. Now, resisting an officer and a felony charge of fleeing from an officer in a vehicle, and was sentenced to 2 years of probation. I mean, she's just building up a record at a very young age. So what do I have here? I have her already in use of drug paraphernalia, right? And I'm assuming this has to go back 2 years long, way past 2 years versus to the crime that she committed this year. Now, Taylor's Facebook said that she was married and she had a son that was born in 2021, but her husband's supposed to be in jail in Wisconsin for unrelated charges. There was no name provided. But when I looked up the marriage records, I didn't find anything. I couldn't find anything that was under her name, but who knows? That could just be my lack of skill of knowing how to look these things up thoroughly. And what I did find out is that if she did have this kid, she did not have custody of the kid. Thank God, right? So, either way, here we are with court release information on March 2nd, 2022. This year. That's right, this year. She's charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault. Whoa, you just jumped the fucking ramps? What did you... Girl, what have you been doing? So that brings us down to Shad Thyrion, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name at all. He was born on September 7th, 1997. He was 5'6", at 150 pounds from what I had roughly found online. Shad and Taylor met at some point, right, in their lives. I didn't have full details of when they met exactly, what was going on, and what led them to become drug buddies, basically, from what I'm understanding, as well as being lovers. Now, on February 22nd, 2022, Taylor and a friend go pick up Shad, right, in her van. They're like, oh, we're going to hang out. We're going to get high today. They go to her Eastman Avenue apartment where they smoked marijuana and did meth. Her friend leaves. So that just kind of leaves Taylor and Shad together. So Taylor shot herself and Shad with trazodone, which is actually a medication used to treat anxiety and depression. They decided afterwards that they were going to go to Shad's mother's house. They headed to the basement, and Shad, since they're obviously lovers, they wanted to have sex, and they were having sex in his mother's basement. And his mother, she leaves the house with her partner, with the mother's boyfriend. They leave the house at 9:30 p.m., and that was pretty much the last time that she would see her son alive. So they're in there doing their thing, but then they continue to mix getting high and mixing their drugs with methamphetamine. So now, one of the things to understand when it comes to methamphetamine is that it's a stimulant, right? So meth will rapidly increase dopamine, which is a happy hormone, right, for the brain. So it stimulates pleasure and motivation. Dopamine also affects our skills like problem solving and memory. So we have a person getting high on the dopamine increasing in their system, right, which is just a temporary feeling of euphoria. And the thing about it, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, this irregular large amount of dopamine is what gets the brain addicted, right? So meth will also alter the brain, especially under repetitive use, and it'll cause the brain to basically be overstimulated, and it's because your brain goes from like a high level of dopamine and just wham, just drops, right? So the continued use, or meth abuse rather, can severely damage dopamine and serotonin neurons that are in the head, because those are your transmitters, right? They're sending messages all over the body. They can affect how a person feels, acts, thinks, and the further the damage, the more chaotic that person can truly become, right? Because it can cause the user to actually experience symptoms of like depression, paranoia, and hallucinations. Warning, discretion is advised. It is about to get gruesome, and I do mean it's about to get gruesome. So discretion is advised. Again, this is a fresh case. You can actually look up the ongoing case now. Because it was not news for Taylor and Shad, to use strangulation as part of their sex in the past. They chose to do it again this particular evening. There were 2 chains. One chain was like a silver-like chain link, and there was also a dog choke collar, one for each lover. So each lover got a different, way to be choked. And when she began strangling him, she began to enjoy strangling him, right? Now, we got 2 people who are cocked up and high, and she's on meth as well, right? So Taylor could feel Shad's heartbeat apparently beating as she was choking him. So she just kept pulling and pulling and pulling on the chain to choke him harder and harder. She realized something was severely wrong and that he was dying when blood started to come out of his mouth and his face began to turn purple. So he's getting cyanotic, right? Because oxygen is not getting to the brain and the heart, like all kinds of things are going wrong. And then she continued to choke him. Now, this would go on for about 3 to 5 minutes. Now, generally, it takes the victim about 7 to 14 seconds to pass out from strangulation, and the time after that is what it takes for them to actually die. Now, after he died, she continued playing with his body and performing sexual acts on him after he died. I mean, back again with the fucking necrophilia. Like, I'm not, maybe because she was on meth, I don't know. I'm not understanding it. Never mind. She would continue to play with his body for 2 to 3 more hours, and then she spent apparently all day Tuesday in the basement with the body, just hanging out, I guess, and getting high. And then Tuesday night is when she decided to actually begin the dismemberment, from Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning. She took the knives from the kitchen, particularly the bread knife is one of the most important ones, because apparently it was serrated edges, so she wanted to use that one. As she began cutting up the body, she became more paranoid and then refers to herself as becoming lazy during the cutting up process. She felt the dope that she had taken had made her too paranoid. Apparently, the plan was to bring all of the victim's body parts with her when she left the house, but she got lazy and only took a few pieces like the leg and the foot and put them in her van that was parked outside the mom's house. Apparently, she forgot the head. And then she leaves. So it's 2:30 to like 3 o'clock in the morning on February 23rd, and then wham, the door, right? So Shad's mother she heard a storm door, like bam, slam, right? Then she heard a vehicle driving off, assuming it's Taylor's van that was parked out front. She doesn't think much about it, so she just goes to see if her son is still downstairs. She saw the light on in the basement. She's checking to see, like, Shad, are you there? Shad, are you there? She's looking for him. And she's like, maybe he left. I mean, because this isn't the first time that they've done this, right? So perhaps maybe he just left with her. She didn't see anyone initially, so she really assumed he probably just left. Until she noticed a bucket at the bottom of the stairs with a blanket on top of it. So when she removed the blanket, she discovered her son's head. Green Bay police were called to her home on Stony Brook Lane at 3:25 a.m. The Green Bay police looked at the severed head. The bloody mattress, also located in the same bucket, apparently was his penis, along with other body fluids and 2 knives. Other body parts were found in the basement, in other bags, including plastic shopping bags, along with 3 knives that included the bread knife, right? His upper torso was found in like a storage tote, which had like numerous amounts of rigid cuts to show like where she had kind of severed the head from. They found evidence of drug usage with glass pipe and a gem bag containing like a light colored powdered material. There was blood in the stand-up shower bathroom in the basement as well. I mean, they just found a horrific scene. So now people are out searching, the police in particular, of course, looking for Taylor. And when they go to basically where she lives, they're investigating her van. Like, the fuck is this? Is her van? You see that? What's going on here? She comes out of her apartment with a bloodied hooded sweatshirt. Her hands are have blood smeared on them, and the officers are like, "Do you know why we're here?" And she just casually responds, "Because of my warrant for my arrest." She was found with the body parts in the crock pot box that she had inside of her car, and she placed them in her minivan in the rear passenger seat. And when she was asked, "What happened?" she replies, "That's a good question." She was taken in, obviously, to be interviewed by detectives who noticed her obviously having cuts in her thumbs, scratches on her arms, hands, everything. And initially, she tried to say that she blacked out, which is possible because she was on like so many drugs that particular night. But it's kind of hard to say, right? Like, what the hell happened? Because either way, you're fucked up. Taylor, I mean, the detectives tell Taylor, "We found the victim's head at the mother's house." And she even says, "That's pretty fucked up." But then later in the conversation says, "Damn, the head." And then says later on, "I can't believe I left the head though." When she was asked about where to find the rest of the body's victims, she stated, "Police were going to have fun trying to find all of the organs as she dismembered the body." I don't know if this is her trying to remove herself from the situation of the crime, which is common amongst criminals, or if she's still high, or if she's just that fucking brain dead and damaged. Like, is it the deterioration of her brain from the drug use? I mean, my God, what the? So, she is currently being charged with 1 count of each, right? 1st-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and then 3rd-degree sexual assault. And due to her history, she's considered to be a high flight risk, and she's actually being held on bail for $2 million at the Brown County Jail. Shad, Thyrion's uncle, said that Thyrion, he was taken to them so soon, and he describes her as a monster, which you can't blame him for. Apparently he had wrote this on his Facebook post, but it was deleted later on. "You have such a good heart and soul, Shad. I love you so much. I can't even begin to describe what we are feeling." And then, like I said, he deleted it later. I mean, my heart goes out to the family, and I hope someday they can find some kind of peace. I mean, because that's hard to bounce back from, right? Not only is the crime horrific, but for her to like find the head of her son, that's fucking cruel. And that's heartbreaking, you know. And Shad died at the age of 25 years old. But that's today's case. And just in case for any of you who may know someone who has drug abuse issues, SAMHSA is the National Helpline for Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services. They will help people find facilities to find the help that they need. If you know someone in need of that, look into calling this number of 1-800-662-4357. I'll repeat it again in case you're listening. 1-800-662-4357, or you can visit the website at samhsa.gov. That's it for today's case for 52 weeks with 52 crimes. Provide feedback, ask questions. If I have information that is wrong, please let me know, especially with the Bones Marie thing. It just seems too coincidental that they look alike, and then her living in Texas, and the records, and changing her name, and then it just seems like I'm like, is that the same person? Because it seems like it's the same person. If anyone has any correct information on it, don't be shy. Come hit me up. Let me know. I will gladly remake this episode. And this is such a heartbreaking, mind-boggling, sad case. I mean, although it is still open, I'm pretty confident she's convicted and going to jail. I mean, what the hell? I think it's so hard to like watch a case like this because you see that there's drug use being involved, and meth really tends to be involved. And when it comes to drugs, meth is often involved when it comes to violence. Meth is not shy of violence. Like they're basically like close friends, and it's sad to see that she wasted her life and then she murdered someone in such a horrific way, and then after murdering him, she just didn't stop. And I'm wondering, because she said that she felt the drugs were making her too paranoid, that I'm like, really? Like, you just realized that afterwards? So I'm wondering if that's why she may have decided to dismember him, because of whatever paranoia was going on in her head. I'm looking forward to like watching this case and seeing like how far it actually goes, and seeing like, you know, how quickly they convict her and like what's going on. But again, my heart goes out to the family, because that is heartbreaking and mind-boggling. And then of course for the friends that Taylor even left behind, because her friend had her in her house. You know, she slept over 1,000 times, never considered that she would be the type of person capable of doing this. And here we are. Thank you guys so much for listening and being a part of this. And again, like, subscribe, feedback, let me know what you know. And if you find any information that Bones and Maria is not the same girl, I will gladly redo this episode. All right, thank you. Bye.